6 months later, Percy Jackson was cited as a person of interest in 4 missing persons cases. 4? Oh my god! At Westover Hall in Bar Harbor, Maine, 2 students and the military academy's vice principal, Dr. Thorne, went missing during a school event. Admin seemingly did not notice the 2 students' absence until the next morning, and authorities were promptly alerted. Security camera footage was reviewed, and the 2 students, siblings, named Nico and Bianca D'Angelo, were seen being escorted off campus grounds by Dr. Thorne. Attempts were made to contact Dr. Thorne, but none were successful. Police investigated the whereabouts of the man and were unable to find any substantial leads as to where he or the children were located. This investigation did, however, uncover that the man was working at the military academy under false credentials. Thorne was cited as the number 1 suspect, and authorities believe the false credentials show that this was a premeditated act to kidnap these children. There's been no identified connection between the 2 siblings and Dr. Thorne, so perhaps the intention was general and not directly related to the 2 siblings. However, not much can be proven, as not only was the background and whereabouts of Dr. Thorne unknown, I believe he was a manticore, but so were the backgrounds of the missing children. The 2 were found to be attending the school on falsified transcripts. Looking deeper into the children, the 2 names Bianca and Nico D'Angelo turned up missing person cases from the 1940s. It quickly became evident that the 2 had stolen or been forced to take on the identity of the 2 children. The original D'Angelos, after relocating to Washington, D.C. from Italy, lost their mother due to lightning striking the hotel they were staying in. What? Yeah. Lightning strike is such a freak thing. Not when Zeus is involved. Oh, so that part's true. Zeus killed... let's be careful about our name usage here. Oh, right. Yup. They then became wards of the state and were enrolled in a boarding school for a brief period before promptly disappearing. It is theorized that the lawyer responsible for the 2 may have had something to do with the disappearance, as he was the one that reportedly removed them from the boarding school the last day they were seen. The 2 siblings have never reappeared and are largely believed to have been kidnapped or murdered. However, it is worth mentioning that the 2 reportedly had a large trust fund that was slowly drained in the following 70-plus years. As a result, some believe the children to still be alive, just existing off-grid and in their 80s, 90s, citing the slowly drained assets. Should someone have been after them for monetary reasons, a slow process makes little sense. Still, the case was left to gather dust for years before suddenly being uncovered in our investigation. The unsettling details of our case draw an odd parallel to the disappearances of these children, both being removed from their respective schools by a close authority figure with little to no questions asked. Investigators have come to believe that an unknown individual enrolled these 2 children at Westover Hall under these stolen identities, but have made no progress in discovering why. Probably because accidental time travel isn't on their list of theories. You're kidding me. The real identity of the 2 children, now estimated to be in their late teens, was never found. Oh, this is gonna be really off. They never found Bianca's body. These guys would have no idea. Oh, so they're looking for both of them. Yeah, but by far the strangest detail of the case is the stark resemblance of the fake D'Angelos to the real ones. Photo comparison is shocking to say the least. This has led to some very sinister theories about who these children might be. Mentions of cults, genetic cloning, data breaches, higher powers testing what they can get away with, and simply mere coincidence have all sprung up online attached to wild speculation. The most popular internet theory is that this is a strong case for time travel. There it is! Citing the shocking resemblance, similar stories, and the compelling testimony of fellow classmates that the 2 were detached, confused by modern technology, and the insistence of the 2 that they did not remember where they came from or what happened to their parents. Wait, that's scary. Can you imagine being so displaced like that? Yes. Oh my god. Okay, these are just theories and superfluous to police investigation. Returning to reality, when examining all security footage from the night the 2 students were removed from campus, all students and faculty were accounted for, but footage caught images of 4 extra teenagers in attendance at the dance. The aforementioned Grover Underwood, see related articles, Annabeth Chase, see related articles. We're coming back to that, right? Yes. Our person of interest, Percy Jackson, and another female student. This brings us to our 4th missing person case. Oh my god. It is unknown what these teenagers, known to be New York residents, were doing in Maine at Westover Hall. A small altercation was caught on camera between Jackson and Dr. Thorne while the D'Angelos watched. Some have speculated that Jackson somehow knew that Thorne was going to take the children, but his true motivation or how he could have had foreknowledge of this is a mystery. Investigation has turned up zero connection between anyone working or attending the school and any of the aforementioned names. Investigators turned to the identity of the unknown 4th student as being their only potential lead, although, granted, her case is entirely circumstantial and not grounded in fact. But outside of this lead, we are left with no explanation as to why they were in attendance the night of the 2 D'Angelos and, by extension, Dr. Thorne's disappearance. Is he dead? Yes, but he's a monster, so he'll be back at some point. What a lovely sentiment. They don't follow the rules of YOLO. Not this again. What is YOLO? It stands for you only live once. Well, not me though. You have lived twice. Yolt. You are my favorite person. Turning to the identity of the fourth student, we have no definitive ID on this person. Described as a tall teenage girl with dark black hair, estimated to be between the ages of 13 to 15. Not much else can be ascertained from the quality of the security cameras. When consulting known cases, it was pointed out the stark resemblance between the girl in the video and known and long-standing missing person Thalia Grace. Online researchers were quick to point out the resemblance, claiming this to be the first sighting of the girl in a few years. However, this can be debunked with a little fact-checking. Missing person Thalia Grace, at the time of this article being written, would be around the age of 24-25, not a teenage girl. Wait, I'm confused. What do you mean 25? She's supposed to be 25, but she joined the Hunters of Artemis the day before her 16th birthday, partially to avoid the prophecy that she would have either accidentally fulfilled the next day or would have caused her death in the next 24 hours, considering that it was actually about Percy. And she's already cheated death once in a really weird way, so, why not? What? How was class? Boring. This seems much more interesting. How did you... Piper's been sending me updates. You're live tweeting me? Just Annabeth. And you told me I should test the tech. You have a cell phone? It's for emergencies. Is this an emergency? It's a crisis of information. They're accusing my boyfriend of being an accessory to crime. Like Ken. What? An accessory. My job is beach. I'm horse riding Barbie. I want to be architecture Barbie. How have we gotten this lost? Look at you and your pop culture! I love movies. You should know this by now. Wait. So she was already a Hunter of Artemis when they wound up at the school? Not yet, but she did lose a couple years as a tree, so that's why her age is off there. I'm gonna pretend like I understood that. Leo? As I was saying, for some background on this case, Thalia Grace is the daughter of 80s TV star Beryl Grace. While Thalia's father remains unknown, in the years after her daughter's birth, Beryl Grace became somewhat infamous for being unstable, consistently pulling stunts that led to endless bad press and her being blacklisted from Hollywood. Paparazzi kept her DUIs and other career-ending behavior well documented, meaning that by association, her young daughter Thalia was recognizable as well. Eventually, Beryl seemed to turn a corner and improve her image after being spotted with a new mystery man. It's assumed that this man is the father of her second child, a boy named Jason Grace. They were quiet for about 2 years before things took a turn for the worst. Jason Grace was reported missing by his older sister. This is the same excerpt from your dad's case, Piper. What? Thalia Grace informed the police that the 2-year-old Jason was missing at the hands of their mother. When questioned, the fallen-off movie star stated that the boy had been taken from her, but refused to disclose by who. When pressed as to why she did not report him missing, she was uncooperative and babbling nonsense. A manhunt was initiated due to suspicion that the child was in danger and had not been simply surrendered. Unfortunately, not a single lead was generated from this search, and the case would have no other revelations until 14 years later. See related articles. While police continued to search for Jason Grace, Beryl's older daughter, Thalia, also went missing. This time, Beryl claimed her daughter had said that, quote, "This was the last straw," and then subsequently ran away. Police searched for the 9-year-old following dozens of tips in the next few years of potential sightings as far as Richmond, Virginia, before the case went cold. Thalia was often said to be seen with a tall blonde teenage boy, estimated to be around the age of 13-14, often seen curiously carrying a golf club. Police have worked to identify the boy and have made tentative links between him and other missing person cases where he matches the description, but no definitive evidence has been found and remains as speculation. See related articles. Do you know who Luke Castellan? You'd think he'd be more identifiable with that giant scar on his face. He didn't have that till after we got to camp. Oh. He went on this quest. There was a dragon involved. It was a whole thing. I remember being very jealous that he got a quest and I did not. But then he came back with that and I had to rethink my stance a little bit. That is really weird to think about. Why? I don't know. He was just the most chill dude before, questing and stuff. Really? He taught me how to sword fight. Oh. Yeah, he'd already stolen the Master Bolt and framed me for it before we even met, and then still had the audacity to be like, "Hey buddy, my name's Luke, let me teach you how to stab stuff." A bit of painful irony there. Painful. Okay. Sightings of Thalia diminished quickly, most likely due to the passage of time and the simple fact that 9-year-olds don't look like 9-year-olds forever. At the last definitive sighting of the girl, an eyewitness stated that a blonde boy referred to her as Thalia, and the unique name was what caught the witness's attention in the first place, considering the media circus around Beryl Grace. After this, the case would have no other revelations for years. However, this case has been linked to the incident at Westover Hall due to one last unverified sighting. A disheveled group of teens were spotted in a convenience store close to Brooklyn. The clerk described a tall young man with a golf club, a girl resembling Thalia, another unidentified young man said to be on crutches, and a very young girl with blonde hair reportedly carrying a large knife. Wait a minute, he saw that you had a knife? I guess he could see through the mist? There didn't happen to be like a goddess throwing muffins or like a burning rainbow there by any chance? Or just like a bunch of snakes for no reason? Not to memory? Okay, well, he could probably just see through the mist. How many deadly businesses are we gonna discuss? Never mind. Considering the odd hour of night and the battered and armed state of the group, the clerk filed a report with the police stating one used the name Annabeth. When shown a photo of missing person at the time, Annabeth Chase, the man identified the girl he saw as the same girl. Unfortunately, this sighting cannot be verified, considering there is no physical evidence. The outdated security cameras were malfunctioning the night in question, and Annabeth's name had been in the news just days prior. However, returning to the incident at Westover Hall, this sighting may have some credibility to it after all. If you will recall, Annabeth Chase in later years was sighted with Percy Jackson and student Grover Underwood, who was heavily speculated to be the aforementioned young man on crutches, at Westover Hall on the night of the D'Angelo's disappearance. If this convenience store sighting is true, it means that Annabeth Chase and Grover Underwood at the very least know Thalia Grace, and make the likelihood that our fourth unidentified student, who looks like Thalia Grace, most likely actually Thalia Grace, despite the age difference. Many chalk the difference up to low-quality security footage and teacher descriptions being inaccurate, saying that the girl could pass as 18 when given more context. Returning to our main subject, if this theory is true, then it links Jackson to our fourth missing person case. Thalia Grace, Dr. Thorne, and the two D'Angelos. A note for the readers, as we do not have an ID on the two missing children taken from the dance, they will be referred to by their stolen identities until we have an official ID. You ever stolen your own identity? Apparently so. Now, he actually shadow traveled here, correct? Yes. Cool, just wanted to make sure that everyone else can also see you. Is that a ghost joke? Depends on how upset you'd be if it was. It was a little funny. Not your best work, though. I'll take constructive criticism. I only give destructive criticism. Does Will know you've shadow traveled across the country? He is not in charge of me. And yes, what is happening? Plus, the Apollo cabin is making me watch all of the Star Wars movies, and that is so many hours of movies. So I figured I'd take a breather before I spend that much time cooped up with Kayla and Austin. Oh no! Have you ever heard Austin play Careless Whisper on the saxophone? I thought it was great the first time, but by the 18th time, I was about ready to send Jules Albert after him. And then I found out it was a meme, and I felt very silly. Who is Jules Albert? He's my zombie chauffeur? My dad gave him to me. I'm gonna need to think about that one. Despite all this, Percy Jackson, the two D'Angelos, and Dr. Thorne made a hasty exit from the grounds with Annabeth Chase, Grover Underwood, and Thalia Grace allegedly following after. The group disappeared into the woods and did not re-emerge. Westover Hall has continued to be investigated for how such a lack of oversight and campus security could have happened, but no other revelations have come about. Although it is frequently mentioned in theoretical discussions of time travel, with conspiracy theorists believing the D'Angelo's case to be one of the best supported instances of this actually occurring. This, however, is simply wild speculation and often leads down a rabbit hole that has done nothing but foul up the actual investigation. Westover Hall has even considered a full rebrand to distance the school from this story. They better name it after us. That seems counterproductive. Oh. What is that? Wouldn't you like to know? The souls of the innocent? It's coffee. Ooh. What do you call a ghost who gives you coffee? What? A barista. Ugh, bad. Okay. Suspicion would continue to follow this group when Percy Jackson, Grover Underwood, Bianca D'Angelo allegedly, Thalia Grace allegedly, and an unidentified teenage girl made an appearance at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. Unidentified? Zoe Nightshade. She was a hunter of Artemis who went on this quest with us. Well, I wasn't technically supposed to be on the quest, but I followed them because they were trying to track down Annabeth and Artemis. Mostly Artemis. I found that unacceptable. You got kidnapped? When? by the Manticore at Westover Hall. They think he took the D'Angelos? False. He took me. What happened to Zoe? She did not survive the quest. But, I mean, she'd been around for like 2,000 years. Actually, she was the one who owned Riptide originally before she gave it to Hercules and so on, and I wound up with it. Wait, do you think that's why Riptide is a girl? That is a solid theory. You know, Zoe disguised Riptide as a hair clip originally when it was forged. Did you choose the pen? No, it was like that when I got it. I didn't realize you could change it until I met Zoe, but by then I was already used to it. Can we go back to you saying that your sword is a girl? How do you know that? Oh. We met a talking sword recently. His name was Jack. And he was flirting with Riptide. It was incredibly weird. Was Jack owned by somebody? Yes, but we don't have time to unpack all that. Actually, Annabeth Chase C-related articles might actually touch on it, so by the time we get there, I'll make up my mind if I want to tell you about Boston or not. Well, that's cryptic. A disturbance followed, reportedly involving a stray dog being let into the museum. The Nemean lion, but okay. Property damage, theft of freeze-dried astronaut food from the gift shop, and security guards chasing the teens out of the museum and off the property. Authorities called to the scene attempted to gather a report from the guards on duty, but incredibly suspiciously, the guards did not return to the museum after pursuing the teens off the property, and the museum was unable to give the names of the guards seen in the security footage, claiming all of their security was accounted for. With the identity of the guards thrown into question, people began to speculate that there may be something tying this instance to the Westover Hall incident other than the recurring cast of characters. This security footage becomes more sinister when you consider that this is the last recorded sighting of Bianca D'Angelo. Her brother, Nico D'Angelo, has been cited many times in years to come, and their case remains open and ongoing, especially for online time travel conspiracy theorists. See related articles. Investigators began to speculate that there must be some sort of compelling force behind the consistent back-and-forth travel and disturbances caused by these specific children. It's never the same group of people, and many seem to come and go, but they act like they have a purpose, or as if they are carrying out some sort of bidding or mission. The only constant variable being the presence of one Percy Jackson, which is where our story focuses. I'm sorry. Theories have ranged from general delinquency all the way to cult activity, saying that the children could be acting on the directions of a charismatic leader or authority figure that is yet to be identified. Wilder theories have suggested that the leader could be Jackson himself, considering his links to all these incidents, but outlying factors such as missing person cases and other unexplained occurrences that predate Jackson disqualify this theory almost completely. They think you're a cult leader? I feel like the people at AHS would have been a lot nicer to me if they genuinely thought I ran a cult. If the cult theory has any credibility, it would suggest that Percy Jackson is at least close to or valued by the cult leader, or the total opposite, considering how prevalently his name is dragged through the mud in these scenarios. One would expect cults to rely more on secrecy, avoiding media coverage if at all possible, or this could all be a large red herring for a more sinister plot. They're getting weirdly close. Despite explosions and general property damage during these sightings of Jackson and his accomplices, there have been no reported injuries to the general public. Many people reported that there was no danger spotted at all, only those actually involved being seen with any kind of injuries or reacting as if there was anything to be feared. We must look absolutely insane to onlookers, just running from things that they can't see. This has led some to look with a more scrutinizing eye at the idea that these incidents could be entirely staged. Returning to the Smithsonian, some people have suggested these unnamed guards were placed there in uniform and the teens may have been in on the whole thing. No, they were just skeleton warriors. Nico, I didn't have anything to do with that. I didn't even know Hades was my dad at this point. They were after me kinda by accident. I wasn't the original target. Nico, I did not have bloodlust at 8 years old, Hazel. Silence. It was justified. Fair. That implies you have bloodlust now. Would you like to find out? Perhaps it is all just a confusing act. Could Dr. Thorne, with his absence of credentials, have been an actor as well? One could even scrutinize the unidentified man on the beach attempting to fight a 12-year-old with a gun with this lens of being entirely fake. This is an interesting theory and is a popular one due to the sporadic and seemingly without clear purpose actions of these teens, but comes to a dead end when we begin to ask what the purpose is and who may be orchestrating these events because, again, no purpose can be ascertained. Nothing seems to be gained, no progress towards a goal is made, and most theories fall flat of just speculation. However, not everything has to have a purpose, and there is one seeming incident where a life insurance policy was gained. Still, the disappearances, Bianca D'Angelo for example, and wandering of these minors is one to be discussed, not ignored. That's when I lost my sister. Oh, sorry. Yeah, she chose rebirth though. Relatively recently, actually, so she's probably chilling somewhere as a baby by now. Do-overs are pretty nice. I would know. Yeah, I hope she's having a way better time this time around, cause... ugh. If I did one more go-round, would that count as 3? Would I qualify for the Isles of the Blessed? That is a good question. You'd be stuck with, like, the mega heroes, though, so we wouldn't be able to hang out. You wouldn't want a do-over? I am 80-something years old. I'm not doing this shit again. You could already be on your 3rd life and have no idea. I do wonder about that sometimes, though. Like, why us 7 in particular were expected to fulfill this great prophecy. Like, it's not my first time here, so maybe the rest of you are on a victory lap as well. That is a terrifying thought. Because you can't really argue, oh, it was experience, because Frank had only been at camp for a couple months before the beginning of the quest, and you also can't really argue special or rare abilities, because Annabeth doesn't really have anything other than experience and pure grit. No offense. No, I'm well aware I don't have any cheat codes. Intelligence is something you can gain, but I can't just study to become a freaking waterbender. So I do wonder what the tie is, other than just, like, fate. Handpicked Jason and Percy and swapped them and just saw who they picked up along the way, adding up to 7, even though technically Nico was on the quest, so it should have been 8, which also means that we can't argue that it was the children of the big 3 because of Nico and Thalia's exclusion. I don't think I was just picked up by Jason. To be fair, I've been dealing with Gaia for longer than all of you. That is very true. I'm also loosely connected to Hazel's first life as well. And you died and came back, so you're on a do-over. I don't think I count, because I don't think my soul ever actually left my body, because I never wound up in the underworld. I just woke back up in my body. You didn't go anywhere? No, but I definitely died. I'd like to believe that it was because I was the captain of the Argo too, like a proper pirate, so instead of going to the underworld, I just wound up in the gravy basket for a little. Like Blackbeard. Yeah, the gravy basket or Davy Jones' locker or something, and Festus had to go get me. Ooh, missed opportunity to play the chain over the ship's intercom while we were being attacked. Ooh, or just like anything by Hans Zimmer. I would have genuinely lost my mind if you did that. The dreaded Pirate Valdez. Commander Toolbelt, the supersized McShizzle of the sea. Fun fact, we've met him. The supersized McShizzle? No, Blackbeard. The real one, not the one from Our Flag Means Death. How did you do that? Remember the guinea pig incident I told you was classified? Yes. Elaborate. Percy got turned into a guinea pig on Cersei's Island, and then got stuck with a bunch of other pirates that had been turned hundreds of years ago, including Blackbeard, who we then accidentally un-guinea pigged as a distraction to escape the island. And that is why Reyna hates me so much. That's why? An abbreviated version of it. I never explained why Hyla had such beef with me when we were with the Amazons. Well, I didn't remember. Who's that? Reyna's sister who was trying to kill Percy. Okay, and we're just chill with that? What's a little attempted murder between friends? Oh. Returning back to the facts. This incident reignited the game of Where's Waldo, and sightings of this group were reported in Cloudcroft, New Mexico, and at the Hoover Dam in Nevada, where a short altercation with other tourists happened. It is suggested that this was a result of the group being recognized after Jackson was seen running through the dam and hiding in a restroom from something unseen. There was even a ridiculous report that the Hoover Dam angel statues were briefly missing after this altercation ended, which is of course entirely out of the realm of possibility, but we choose to mention it to show how quickly people begin to make up false stories when there's potential news coverage involved. If it weren't for the advent of security cameras, these cross-country chases could be considered an awful game of telephone. Fun fact, I ran into Rachel Elizabeth Dare there and tried to convince her that my sword was a baseball bat. And what was the crowd reaction to that? She did not believe me. Pretty sure she thought I was insane. She was thinking, wait, is that cult leader from the news? That is a fair possibility. In loose connection to this case, an odd incident occurred late at night near Mount Tamalpais. A destroyed vehicle was found after apparently spinning out on the road up the mountain and subsequently exploding. Damage suggested the car was struck by lightning and was then abandoned. No authorities were alerted and no bodies were recovered. The car was simply left there. Vehicle was a yellow VW convertible registered to one Frederick Chase. Uh-oh. Chase is a military and American history professor at West Point. This is significant because Chase is in partial ownership of a restored Sopwith Camel biplane, and what is speculated to be around the same time that night, it was reported that the biplane took off from Crissy Field, then returned and landed with a second aircraft mere miles from the crash. Eyewitnesses' description demonstrated foggy memory of the second aircraft, but were certain of the Sopwith Camel being involved. Aliens. Or like Artemis. Oh, you're joking. Professor Chase was fined for the unauthorized flight and gave a flimsy excuse about maintenance for the old plane, but some theorized this was an attempt to retrieve the vehicle or attend the scene of the crime. It seems clear that Chase was not in operation of the vehicle when it was destroyed, and law enforcement claimed Chase was most likely trying to avoid the legal battle that can ensue when a non-owner of a vehicle is operating it during a crash. He potentially flew up to try to stage the scene before calling authorities, but they postulated that due to the nature of the crash, or rather explosion, Chase decidedly stepped back on this attempt and was confronted by authorities about the unauthorized flight before he could report anything having to do with his car, resulting in his flimsy excuse. Nothing malicious was suspected until the car was taken to be totaled. Inside the car were several destroyed belongings. This is where our story picks up. When pressed as to who was driving the vehicle, Chase refused to answer, insisting that it was himself. Authorities investigated deeper into the belongings, and a backpack was found with a wallet containing a Metro card registered to one Sally Jackson. Damn. If you recall, Sally Jackson is the mother of Percy Jackson, and pressing further into this connection, it was discovered that Frederick Chase is the father of the aforementioned Annabeth Chase, a known associate of Percy Jackson. This connection reasonably places at least one of the Jacksons in Professor Chase's car at some point. They may not be definitively involved in the accident, but were at least in the car at some point recently. It can be reasonably inferred that after the altercation at the Hoover Dam, Jackson continued in the same direction, landing in San Francisco, and potentially meeting with Professor Chase. Chase's actions prior to this were not noted, and some have said he could have been involved much earlier in transporting these children across the country. I wish that could have been helpful. Perhaps the children were operating the vehicle, and he flew to the explosion site to retrieve them. This would fit very nicely into law enforcement's theory as to why Chase did not contact the authorities about his vehicle. I am shocked about the accuracy of that theory. Just wait for it. However, this doesn't explain the presence of the second aircraft. The aliens! Nebulously described, the aircraft did not remain in Crissy Field and left soon after appearing, but the evidence at the scene showed two distinct takeoffs and landings, only one of which was made by the Sopwith Camel. With this new addition to the story, conspiracy theorists went wild claiming that the craft could be alien. I take everything back. A detail yet to be mentioned was the fact that upon further investigation, it was determined that the machine guns on the biplane were functional and had been used, theorists suggesting an unfriendly encounter between the two crafts. The second aircraft has not been identified, and it has been difficult to even speculate what kind of craft it was without any solid defining features from eyewitnesses and no physical evidence. Theorists took this a step further to insist that it was not a coincidence that the famous haunted cruise, the Princess Andromeda, was docked in the vicinity of Mount Ham, and pointing out that this is the second instance of a car related to the Jacksons being struck by lightning and subsequently destroyed, chalking this entire case to some grand underground conspiracy having to do with aliens. This is, of course, insanity, and a hard left from the very believable theory of law enforcement that Chase simply wanted to avoid the legal issue of allowing a minor or minors to operate his vehicle. Law enforcement have also stated that the second aircraft is most likely a hoax. All of this has caused investigators to pay more attention to Professor Chase and his actions, specifically in relation to his daughter. Let's back up a little and discuss Annabeth Chase. Oh, here we go. Wait. So what actually happened? Zoe was driving, and then Thalia started freaking out, saying that we needed to get out of the car, which she was right. We were about to be struck by lightning. And long story short, we just left the car there because we had to go save Annabeth. Big fight ensued. Thalia almost killed Luke. They had made Annabeth hold the sky, and then I had to hold it, but we got Atlas back under there. Who? Like the Titan Atlas who holds up the sky? Didn't it take 2 whole wars to take down Kronos/Krios? Yes. Did you guys just put this one back where he was? Pretty much. And the whole holding the sky thing, that's not a metaphor? No, he is actually holding the sky. That doesn't make you a little anxious? Could he drop it? Like, what would happen? How did you do that? Not die? I don't have the physical, logistical answer to that, Frank, but I get where you're coming from. It might be more supernatural, magical, because logistically we should be pancakes. It turned our hair gray. Yeah, we both had gray streaks in our hair. Yours have grown out, but you can kind of see mine on the ends. That was fun to try and explain to my classmates. Why are you graying at 13? Just matching with my bestie. Yeah, my friend who I crashed a quest to save, just super platonic besties. Then my dad swooped in with a machine gun and got us out of there, but we lost Zoe, unfortunately, and then we had to go to Olympus, and Thalia joined the Hunters, and I thought we were going to lose you, too, for a second. Yeah, they were voting on whether or not to kill me because I was now officially the child of the prophecy, mostly Ares and Athena, just like in front of you. Yeah, that was a bad day. That's when I sicked the skeleton warriors on him by accident, Hazel. I wasn't gonna bring it up, but yeah, I spent a couple of hours as the solo Big 3 kid before you said psych and disappeared. You thought you were special, biatch? Think again.